everyone. Welcome to another GoDaddy Pro meetup. My name is Marcus Burnett. Hope everyone's having a good week so far. Today, I have the pleasure of having Angela Blake back with me. You've been here a couple times lately, just a few weeks ago, but I'm excited to have you back to tell us about native Stripe integrations. So how are you doing today, Angela?
I am doing great and happy to be here. I'm actually really excited to talk about this, so thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for you to share this with everyone because I think it's pretty awesome. Before I turn things over to you, though, I do want to just have a couple notes for those that are joining us. We'll have a little bit of Q&A time at the end after Angela's presentation. So if you're here with us at the event live, please do go ahead and toss questions for Angela in the chat. I'll be hanging out in the background to grab those, and we'll have those at the end for Angela to answer. Also, this is being recorded, and so if you need to hop out or if you want to share this with your team later, a replay link will be sent out to you as well. And it'll also be on the GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel. So with that, I'm going to just go on ahead and get out of the way and let you talk to us about the native Stripe integration, Angela.
All right, thanks. Let me go ahead and pull that up. All right, Mark. Good.
Yep, looks great.
Perfect. Okay, everyone. So today we're talking about a native Stripe integration that we have rolling out for our Managed WordPress product, specifically our Managed WordPress Ecommerce tier. As you know, with WooCommerce and WordPress, pretty much every functionality that you could possibly want is available through a plugin or extension of some kind, and there are extensions available for Stripe. We've just decided to build it into our platform, so I'm going to be talking about that. We're going to be covering what it is, what a native integration is for Managed WordPress, why we chose Stripe, some of the benefits of using the integration, some possible drawbacks and future plans, what WooCommerce Stripe extension users can expect. So by that, I mean people who use the current WooCommerce Stripe extension on their WooCommerce site. And then we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A, but you can drop those questions in anytime you want, just like Marcus said, and he'll collect those for the end. In case you missed my introduction, my name is Angela Blake. I'm a product manager here at GoDaddy for the Managed WordPress Ecommerce product. And I actually planned out and scoped and helped execute this project. So I'm really excited to talk about it with you guys, and we will jump right in. All right. For those of you who aren't familiar with our platform, you don't know what we mean by a native integration. We do have a hosting platform. It's Managed WordPress, so it comes with WordPress, and the e-commerce tier comes with WooCommerce already pre-installed. And that sort of takes a lot of the work out of setup and maintenance for you. A native integration for this platform is something that we decide to build in directly to the platform. So you're not going to need to install a separate plugin for it. It's not going to come from a third party. It's already built in there for you. You're not going to need to be paying an additional subscription. It's just already there. What's significant about that is that it is platform specific. So when we build something into our platform, it's not something you take with you from one host to another. It's something that is unique to our hosting solution. It is also maintained by us. So you're not looking at a lot of additional configuring and updating and things like that that you would normally see with a plugin that you would install yourself. So why did we choose Stripe? Some of you might know that we have our own payment solution called GoDaddy Payments. So you might be asking yourself, well, why would we build Stripe into our platform? Why would we make that part of our offering when we already have our own payment solution? And there are a few answers to that question, right? So Stripe is pretty well known. Our payment solution, GoDaddy Payments, is popular in its own right, but I would say it hasn't reached the Stripe level yet. We're not gonna say that. Hopefully one day. But Stripe has just an extreme availability across markets and locations, right? So Stripe is, as you can see on this slide, in 35 markets, 47 countries, and in 135. Our GoDaddy payments option is only available to United States users using the US dollar. So as you can see, that's a really limited pool there of people who can take advantage of that solution, because we already have GoDaddy payments built into a lot of our hosting offerings. And it's there, but it's only there for people with stores based in the United States using the US dollar for currency. We are planning on rolling that out to other markets, but that takes time. And we want to offer a solution that will be available to more people sooner. It's also an extremely popular option, Stripe is. I found that over 3 million live websites are using Stripe for transactions for a 15.49% market share of all payment solutions. So not necessarily live websites, but payments in general. You can find the sources for live websites that use Stripe on BuiltWith and market share on Datanyze. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you can find those stats and the links as well. We'll share those with you after the presentation. So Stripe is also a very flexible payment method. They accept 8 different credit cards, 6 digital wallets, obviously, with Apple Pay and Google Pay being those primaries. It offers ACH processing, buy now, pay later options, and honestly, a bunch of other options as well. You can do a lot with Stripe. So with it supporting that many different of payment options, it's a really good opportunity for people who use our platform to process payments the way they want to, whichever method works best for their store setup and in their location. And I mean, I've already been talking Stripe up in this native integration quite a bit, but I think it's important to go over some of the really key benefits to the native integration. So like, why would you choose to use this rather than one of the current plugin options that already exist, right? Excuse me. So some key features here are with this setup. If you are a plugin user, you know that often when you set up a payment plugin, you're going to go in and you're going to need to connect your account, and then you're going to find API keys. You're going to enter those into the right setting spots. And there's a lot of configuration that you're going to need to do both on the merchant side with your gateway and on the WooCommerce side with your store, right? So a lot of that back and forth is going to involve some copy and pasting. And if you're one of our pros or just building websites for clients in any capacity, especially e-commerce websites, you've probably encountered situations where you're trying to guide your clients through setting up those payment methods on their own. Obviously, it's more secure if you let them set up their own payment options, because then they're not giving you sensitive information and passwords to their accounts and things like that. But it can be really difficult to guide them through that process because a lot of that setup can be really complex. They may not understand what they need to do. You know, what's an API key? Why am I putting it here? Where do I find it? Things like that. We use Stripe Connect for this integration. So you get the Stripe Connect onboarding experience. And when they go in and activate this native integration, all they have to do is click setup. They get brought directly to the Stripe onboarding. If they have an account already, they don't have one, it walks them through the steps of setting up their account correctly directly through Stripe. So then that takes a lot of the support off of your shoulders and a lot of the responsibility of connecting them and helping them get the right settings in the right place. So then once they've connected that account, they'll be brought directly to the settings page for this Stripe integration inside WooCommerce. And then from there, they'll see a lot of options for configuration, but their existing settings from the Stripe account are going to be automatically pulled in. So they're going to see, you know, payment methods that they have already selected inside Stripe. They can then decide which ones they want to use on their store. security settings carry over and everything. So they don't really have to do quite as much, but maybe decide that maybe they don't want to use one of the payment methods they have set up on Stripe. Maybe they don't want it on their store or something like that. So it's really straightforward for them. There's not a lot of copying things over or setting things up twice. It takes a lot of the headache out of that. And then the next thing we're looking at is maintenance. Since you don't have to install a plugin and you don't have to just get something separate to have this solution there, then you're not running updates, you're not checking on compatibility, you're not paying for separate subscriptions. And I know the WooCommerce Stripe extension is free, but there are other solutions as well. So you're not having to pay anything additional. You're not having to run updates and everything. And they can also disconnect and reconnect accounts easily. So with that, let's say your client started using Stripe on their personal account. They started small, they had a personal account already, and they were processing transactions, but then they decided they want to do it right, set up a business account that's separate from their personal account, and now they need to switch to that. They can easily just disconnect and then connect to a new account directly through the settings inside WooCommerce as easily as, clicking a button and then signing back in. So that takes a lot of that off of you, a lot of that responsibility of maintaining those connections and making sure the right account is connected off of you, and costs and time and everything. So the third thing is support. When you're using a different plugin that is not provided by your host, which is often the case, then you have two different places to go for support, right? If you have something that might be a hosting issue, you're taking it to your hosting company. If you have something that might be an issue with a plugin, then you're taking it to the plugin developers and seeing what they can answer for that. But as you know, with WordPress, it can be hard to narrow down where the issue lies, and you might end up talking back and forth between different teams. One of the benefits of using the native integration, especially if you're already one of our customers, is that you can go ahead and get help for the Stripe payment solution directly through your WordPress admin. We've got a little Get Help tab there at the top where you can send an email to our team. It does go to a specialized team, so when you use that option, you're working with a team that knows e-commerce, that knows payments, that knows WordPress, and then you can also allow them to access your settings. So if you're using this native integration on our Managed WordPress solution, all they have to do is ask you for permission, and you can say, yeah, go ahead, jump in back there and check it out. So that makes it really easy for you to get help and not be going back and forth between different providers. Also, this should be pretty obvious, but if you wondered whether or not it supports subscriptions, yes, it does. Okay. With all that said, what are the drawbacks, right? This can't be a perfect solution, and you're right, it's not. It's an iterative process, so we like to start with the most important key features first and then add as we go, so that as people use it, they can sort of tell us what they want, what they like and don't like, and we can fix things and make it better as we add features. With that said, some of the things that we have not added in the first release are webhooks. So that's going to affect how your store talks back and forth with Stripe. Obviously, on the initial connection, it's going to bring everything in from Stripe. But some things that aren't going to come through initially are going to be things like, let's say your store processes a sale, right? And then the person who bought that item goes to Stripe and disputes that charge and says, no, this was fraudulent, I didn't buy that, or whatever, and Stripe cancels that out. It's not going to be reflected back on your store immediately that was canceled out. However, webhooks are going to be part of our next release, so they're going out on the update that comes immediately after this release. So we are doing a quick follow-up to offer that, because we do want to make sure this a well-rounded experience and that your store is right. So Without that, yeah, Stripe works perfectly well. Everything is going to go through just fine. You just might see a little bit of a difference on the reporting end. Of course, when the webhooks update comes through, then that will be retroactive. You should be able to see those things afterward. So you can go ahead and get it set up and everything, because those situations are going to be outliers. You're not going to have very many of those. If you're interested in beginning to use this now, everything will work properly. This is just making it a better experience, essentially. Another thing that you might think about is migration. If you tend to change hosts a lot, you might not want an option that is built into the platform, right? Because that's not going to come over with you when you change hosts. So I want to be perfectly straightforward and upfront about that, that this is, being a native integration, this is built into our platform, right? So if you move somewhere else and you want to continue using Stripe, then you're going to have to go ahead and set up one of those, like the WooCommerce extension or another solution, in order to accept Stripe payments. And I don't know personally whether or not the data from your old payments would come with you and show up on your store correctly. That would kind of depend on your new host if that were to happen. Another thing that we have left out of the first release is a testing sandbox solution. So in order to test payments, you would want to put through like a very small payment amount and then immediately refund that. That's still going to be okay for most stores, like just processing a smaller transaction and everything is not going to be any worse off than a testing or a sandbox solution. Obviously, if you like things to be a little bit more sophisticated, you can wait for that to come out. That is not going to be on this next update, so you will have to feature. And then the last thing I want to highlight here is that this is not a one-to-one replacement for the WooCommerce Stripe plugin. So I'm actually going to go into that a little bit deeper because I think that's right now the most well-known Stripe solution for WooCommerce, and I want to address the differences there in what you might experience if you're already a user of that extension. All right, so like I said, not a one-to-one replacement. That is because we are using a different connection setup. This is a completely different feature. We weren't going to sit there and just copy an existing solution and build it into our platform. We wanted to create something unique, something that's going to be, you know, a GoDaddy experience, really. So with that said, there's not really a migration path currently because it's not a one-to-one experience. It's not a one-to-one replacement. We can't just say, all right, let's swap this out for that. They don't match up, right? In the future, we will be looking at creating a good path to switch from one to another. But for right now, we just want to present this as our integration as a solution for people who are wanting to begin accepting Stripe. That doesn't mean you can't use it if you're already using the WooCommerce extension. You know, you can switch over, but you need to know that for right now, it's not going to be a situation where you toggle one off and toggle the other one on and everything stays the same. It's going to be different. You can still use the same merchant account, though. You just would need to connect it when you do the setup for the native integration. With that in mind, if you are a managed WordPress e-commerce user already, you're not going to see the native Stripe integration option if you're already using the WooCommerce Stripe extension. And the reason for that is that if you're already the extension user, you know that when you look at your list of payments inside WooCommerce, you see Stripe, and then you see a Stripe entry for every type of Stripe payment option that you have enabled on your store, right? If we added the integration option as well, then you would see 2 Stripe credit card options, and then you would see all of your other Stripe payment options below that as well. And I felt like it would get confusing for people. They might wonder, why are there 2 Stripe credit card options here? Why is one enabled and another one is not enabled? Which one is which? I don't want to confuse people, right? So in order to see the native option, if you're already using the WooCommerce Stripe extension, you would need to disable that extension, and then this should show up for you as an option because I mean, it's still available to you. You can use it and everything, but we don't want to confuse you with multiple Stripe options. That being said, if you do disable your Stripe extension or payment options and everything, and do want to use this native integration, one additional benefit to that is that you're not going to have that entire string of different payment options showing up inside your list of payments in WooCommerce. When you go into the settings, like I said before, it's going to pull in everything that you set up for Stripe on Stripe's end, right? So inside those settings, you're going to see these are all the different payment options through Stripe that I can enable for my store. And you can do it right there. It's not going to clog up your list of payment methods in the WooCommerce payments page, right? So all you're going to see there is the Stripe option, and it defaults to credit card. You can add the others through the settings, depending on what you've already enabled on Stripe. So that's I would like to call it a benefit, really, because it keeps it simple. I don't like having to hunt through a lot of options on the list trying to find what I'm looking for. So I think it's a little bit better organized in that way. But again, it's not going to be a one-to-one replacement for the WooCommerce Stripe plugin. If you're used to that experience, this experience is going to be a little bit different. So we ran through that pretty fast. I want to give some time now for question and answer. Let me know what you need to know about this. I'll do my best to answer. This has not actually released yet. It should be released either by end of week this week or should be released next week. It kind of depends on a lot because it's a whole platform update, right? So we do have to make sure it's synced with other things. So please look out for that very soon, and let's see what questions you have.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have a couple in the chat, but I just wanted to say, like, as far as reasons to buy goes, like not having to update a plugin or pay an additional monthly fee for a payment gateway plugin is like reason enough, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure I hit the benefits pretty heavy on this one, but I'm so excited about this. So please excuse me, guys. I'm not trying to sell you. I mean, I just love it.
Yeah, we have, so like I said, we have a couple in the chat, and I also asked some folks beforehand to submit questions, so I compiled those as well. But let's start with one that Ivan asked earlier. Is there a list of native integrations of plugins for the Managed WordPress or Managed WordPress e-commerce platforms? I replied in the chat saying I think so on the landing page, and I added a link to the e-commerce Managed WordPress e-commerce landing page. But you might have a better sense of where that might live than I would.
Yeah, that landing page is going to be the best source. I would like to clarify, though, that we have two different things that you're going to find built into our platform. We have native integrations, which are not plugins based. They are just built-in features built in completely to the platform. But we also have a list of included extensions. Those are plugins, but they do have like an easy install activate button or whatever that you can find directly through WooCommerce inside your WordPress admin. So there are sort of two different things going on there. The features are probably, the integrations are probably going to be listed as features on the page themselves, and then the included extensions will say, you know, on that landing page, you'll find them under the list of included extensions.
Yeah, just as an example, and maybe you have a couple more off the top of your head, things that are included are things like built-in cost of goods, built-in, there's some email customization things that are built in, I believe. Shipment tracking, there's a feature for shipment tracking built in as well. I don't know if I'm missing any like major ones that you can think of right now.
Gift certificates, I believe, is also
that's right,
built in. That's a smaller one, probably not as well known, but yeah. I know there are others
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we've built in over time.
Smaller in popularity maybe, but that's a very powerful
Mhm.
plugin. There's a lot going on under the hood there.
Yeah.
Cool. Ivan also asked, let's say I replace my WooCommerce Square plugin with this built-in Stripe integration. With
Mhm.
today's version, or when it comes out shortly here, how can I test if it works without ordering a product?
So with this version, let me go back to the little drawbacks page that I have here. With this version, you cannot test it without ordering a product. So that will be coming in the future. But for this first release, we basically just focused on the most important thing, which is making sure that it works and works well in production.
Yeah, and I've seen this with other plugins as well. Best thing to do is create like a 10-cent hidden product, buy that, and then refund yourself as soon as it goes through and you can see that everything's working. Don't go buying like a $200 product in your store. Create a hidden smaller product.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. That's our recommendation with this feature as well until we roll out a sandbox situation. Part of that, just to explain a little bit further, part of that has to do with the complexity of having production versus sandbox environments. So when we took the work out of this integration for you, we wanted to make sure that you wouldn't have to add API keys and things. And typically you'll find that there are a different set of keys for production versus sandbox accounts. So we would have to figure out how we wanted to handle pulling those different keys in. And the next update is including webhooks, and that is going to help us tremendously in being able to sort that out on your behalf without having you like copy and paste different things. So that's why webhooks is next, and then hopefully after that we'll be able to work out the test account situation.
awesome. Let's see, what other questions did I have from before? Oh, just a point of clarification. Which managed WordPress plans is this available for, or will this be available for? Is it just the e-commerce, or will it be available for other managed WordPress plans as well?
Right now, it's the e-commerce for sure. Typically, we also offer these to our other managed WordPress plans if you choose the right selection and sort of in the automated setup situation. So if you go through our little setup wizard and you select that you're going to be selling products and things like that, most of our integrations are also offered in that way. I can't 100% confirm that we're going to offer that for those plans on this release. I will say that we are planning on offering this with our new product that's going to be coming out. There have been rumors and whispers about. We can't fully speak of it
Don't
yet,
say too
but
much. Don't get us in trouble.
I won't. I won't. We're planning a lot of very similar things, so I can't make promises or give details, but look forward to it.
Awesome. Yeah, if you we didn't plan for this, but if you want to stop sharing for just a second, I
Oh,
do have a
sure.
I do have a slide from a different one that has a slight bit of, let me see, window, this one, share.
Oh, thanks for joining, Ida. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Be sure to catch the replay if you want to see the rest of what we discuss here.
Yeah, this is just the link there. I'm going to toss it in the chat again before we're done, but a little bit of info
Oh,
about
cool.
our
And I love
managed
this slide.
WordPress
This is neat.
e-commerce hosting. Yeah, includes all sorts of things. Like Angela said, some built-in features, some native things, some things that were plugins that became built-in features for the same reasons that you mentioned earlier, right? No need to
Right.
update those plugins, no need to pay separate costs for updates and stuff annually. Let's see what else I have. If I find, so here's another one. If I find a plugin that requires the official Stripe plugin, is there a way to disable the native integration? And my thinking here was maybe something like, and this may actually work, like conditional shipping and payments, where you want to offer different gateways based on location or the amount that the order is or whatever. Like I said, this may work for the built-in integration, so it may be a bad example, but if there happens to be a plugin that relies specifically on the plugin, the Stripe plugin, is there a way to disable the native integration?
Yeah. So once you enable it, you can disable it just like any other payment option. It's not going to interfere with other things in that way. So if you decide to stop using it for any reason, go ahead and just hit that disable toggle and you should be fine.
And then the one from the plugin will show up there.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. I think I have just one more here. The question is, does or will this integration include some of the more complex features from Stripe, like Apple Pay, Buy Now, Pay Later, etc.? Are there plans to continue to build this native integration up to, I guess, somewhat match the feature set that's in the plugin currently?
Yes, so all of the payment options that you have already selected on your Stripe account will be available in here. So it is not restricted as far as payment options go. Anything and everything is good. So it's not restricted in that way. The only way that I think, and I don't remember exactly what all the WooCommerce existing like Stripe extension has right now, but I do know they have the webhooks, and I believe they have the testing environment. So I would say that those are currently the biggest differentiators. If you really rely on those features and need them, then that's going to be the biggest difference for you. But yeah, as I mentioned before, we are planning updates to bring that more to like parity, feature parity with that solution. It won't be the same experience. Like this is definitely going to be a different experience. And then once we do have better feature parity, that's when you'll start to see us move toward, offering a better option for like migrating from one to another, rather than just having to switch one off and start using the other one cold.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just writing in the chat. Teresa had a different question about email. My recommendation there, it's not directly related to this, would just be to go ahead and reach out to our support team about the email issues, and they'll get you taken care of. I think that's all the questions that I had. I tossed the link again to the e-commerce hosting plan in the chat. It was as a part of a reply to Teresa. We also do have a place for us to continue to talk about this in the community forums, specific to this event. Well, that didn't paste properly, did it now? Let me get the link pasted in there correctly. So if you want to continue to talk more about the native Stripe integration, head over there. We'll be hanging out in the forums, answering some questions there, and we can continue to have a conversation. I'm going to go ahead and cut this a little shorter than usual here today, because I've been a little bit under the weather, and I know that Angela has to get on her way to an event here as well. So I'll go ahead and wrap us up here. Let me stop sharing that. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We do have another event coming next Wednesday. I'll have Mark Westgard, who's the founder of WS Form, and he'll be coming on to talk about building forms with no code but very, very powerful plugin, WS Form. So he'll be with us to demonstrate that next week, August 24th, back here at the same time, same place. So please do go ahead and register for that one. You can do that at events.godaddy.com. That's where the replay for this one will be. That's where all of our past event replays are as well. And a great place to register for future things. Thanks again, Angela, for coming and sharing about native Stripe integration. I think that's really awesome, and I'm looking forward to that being live for all of our Managed WordPress e-commerce customers.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Thanks, Marcus.
Awesome. Have a safe travel to your event, Angela, and thanks everyone else for hanging out, and we'll see you on the next meetup. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.